This is Bumper to Bumper, the car show. Drive in anxious and cruise out confident. With the best automotive information for your vehicle. And now your hosts, Matt Allen and Dave Riccio.
Good morning, everybody, and welcome to Bumper Radio. I am Matt Allen, along with my good friend Dave Riccio, and every single Saturday at 11, we are your KTAR car guys. So, at Bumper to Bumper Radio, we're here to help you with your car. Maybe you've got a question about a problem you're having, if there's that funny light on the dash, or somebody said you need to fix your whatever valve or something or other. Maybe you're going to buy a new car. Whatever it is, let's talk about it. You can join the show by giving us a call at 602-277-5827. It's 602-277-KTAR. And our texting is working again at 411-923. So if you're a little shy, you can text, but you shouldn't be shy. Don't worry about it. On the roadmap today, we are going to have an email of the week. Of course, always open phones. And there's a part on your car that you've really got to take care of. And you don't always know about it. There's a lot of different opinions about when to take care of it. And what do we do, Dave? What's that part that everybody is always asking about?
It's the one that's cooking in the back of your mind right now. It's the timing belt. Most of us have one. Some of us don't, but we wish we had one, or we're glad we're not, but we're really not sure. And everybody wants to sell you one when you go to the auto shop. So timing belt, do I need one? Are you nervous? Are you ignoring the timing belt? And you got to do something about it. You think you got to do something about it, but it's a lot of money to get those fixed. So what the heck is a timing belt? A timing belt is a major component in your car, in your engine. It's not easily accessible, so they can be expensive to replace. But what it does at the bottom of your engine is the crankshaft. That's where the rotation is happening that drives the tires. It goes to the transmission and then to the tires. That's rotating, but there's a belt that connects to that crankshaft that goes all the way up to the top of the engine, where it turns camshafts which control the valves in the engine. And those things all have to be in perfect synchronicity.
Synchronization.
Yeah, right? They've got to be perfect.
Isn't that a bank?
It could be. It could be. So, when that timing belt fails or breaks or skips a tooth, these are it runs on gears. It's a belt, instead of being smooth, it has teeth on it. And it keeps all those things in synchronization. And if it breaks, or it breaks off a tooth, or it skips a tooth, it's kind of like a stoplight that has green in both directions. Things collide. It's not good, and that's where it gets really expensive. So it's one of those things you don't want to ignore, and it's one of those things that you can't see in most cases without disassembly of the engine. So you tell people, hey, check out my timing belt. Well, they really can't see much of it. They can maybe peer in through a little cover, but it's one of those things we just replace based off, in a lot of cases, time and mileage.
Yeah, but let's back up for 1 second, though. So the timing belt is keeping everything timed, really, synchronized or timed. And it's like you said, driven by the crankshaft, rotates the camshafts, but there's also some other things that the timing belt is responsible for. On some cars, in most cars that have a timing belt, they're turning the water pump. They might turn a balance shaft or something like that. There might even be a balance shaft belt, but that's a small percentage of cars. Some might turn the oil pump. So when you go to the shop and you want to have that serviced, it's not just the timing belt that we're replacing. We've got to look at this as an entire system, because the labor to access that timing belt is a lot. In some cars. Some cars it's a 2.5-hour job. Some cars it's an 8-hour job. You're pulling the whole bumper off, the radiator out. I can think of an Audi that's like that, or several Audis, several cars. So
it scares the customer if they come by and they see their car being worked on and the whole front end is missing from the car. Like, that's all for just a belt? Absolutely.
Yeah, exactly.
So let's talk about some of those other components that are driven buy the timing belt, and you mentioned the water pump is one. There's also things in there that are guides, and there's going to be idlers, and those are guides. And you said, hey, a 10-speed bike. Picture your 10-speed bike and the derailleur on the back. Well, there's a lot of little pulleys in the system that guide that chain around the sprockets to make it work. Well, you've got the same thing. So you've got these pulleys, and then you also have a tensioner or tensioners, and some cars have multiple timing belts.
Yeah.
But there's a lot of things that go on there. So if the belt fails, well, we could have a catastrophe in the engine and major engine problems.
We have that situation where all the lights are green at
the stoplight of a major
7th Street
intersection.
in Thomas, yeah.
So we don't want that. And so we've got all these components. And why would you do a water pump instead of just the time? In addition to the timing belt, well, because if that water pump fails, and they have a life cycle, so we see water pumps last 100,000 miles, sometimes 130,000 miles, but the new timing belt will outlast that water pump that is there already. Mm-hmm. So we're going to do it all. It's all right there. Let's do it all together.
It's economies of scale is what I would call it, taking advantage of that labor. You're already there. In most cases, let's just pick a Honda 4-cylinder, for example, or a Honda V6 even. Once you've got it all taken apart to take the timing belt off, there's 7 or 8 more bolts that hold a $150 water pump on. And that, don't hold me to the fire on the price. I'm just round numbers. So why wouldn't you take that water pump off? Because like you said, Dave, it's pretty much got its useful life. Honda timing belt, 105,000 miles is when it's due. We know, like you said, that belt's going to outlive the water pump.
When we replace it. So the new belt is going to go to 210,000 miles, and that water pump is never going to go to 210,000 miles. It's going to go out at 150,000 miles.
And at 105,000 miles, you probably need a cooling system service or flush anyway. So we kind of wrap all that in. The water pump comes off. We're going to drain the coolant out, new water pump, flush it out, maybe throw on a new radiator cap. Same time, what else goes with it?
So you got the idlers and the tensioners, and literally there's parts companies that sell us a complete kit. And so we talked about Honda, so we'll use that. So there's a maker that sells us a kit that has the belt, has the water pump, has a tensioner, has the idler, and it also has the seals. There's camshaft seals, balance shaft seals, crankshaft seals. So when you're there, hey, we're just going in there doing it once. We don't want to pay for it the first time. We certainly don't want to pay for it the second time. So let's just make it a whole repair. And this is where some of the scamming I see in our business comes, because it is a good repair job for an auto shop. It's a job that we feel good about. But a lot of people will sell a timing belt or price a timing belt on the phone a la carte. And they go, yeah, we got time. And they even run a coupon for it. We got timing belts for $3.95.
Yeah. Well, let me back up one more time. The other advantage, I'm going to run it backwards on you, Dave. I'm going to do it. We're going to fight. Dave and I are going to fight a little bit today. We're both pretty feisty. I'm a little hyperactive today and stuff. But the other thing, and I know at my shop at Virginia Auto Service, we when we do use the timing belt component kit and we buy it all together, instead of giving our normal 24-month, 24,000-mile warranty, that company stands behind that and says, you know what, guys? If you replace the entire system with our package, we will warranty that for the factory life cycle. So if your life cycle is 105,000 miles, if we install that whole kit together, instead of having a 2-year, 24,000-mile warranty, now you've got the same thing brand new. The manufacturers are confident in that. When you do it as a kit, it's going to last forever again.
So I'm thinking as a consumer, I'm thinking right now, I'm driving down the road, do I have a timing belt? Do I have a timing belt in my car? Do I need to get it changed? And I know it's kind of maybe an expensive repair, but I got this coupon for $395. Should I just go get that done? The $395 coupon. And this is something I call the two-step selling process, which I hate in my business. Or not in my business, but in our industry, where they say, oh, yeah, it's $395. We do them all day long. They take it apart and they go, oh, man, we're looking at your water pump. You should probably change that. It's looking a little peaked, And we're also looking at some of these tensioners and other stuff. So you end up getting a $1,200 timing belt repair, which should have been the price in the first place. It's just agonizing because you picked that shop, and now that your car's taken apart, they don't have to be cost competitive on that water pump and cost competitive on those tensioners and idlers and all those other little pieces that go on. It's a little bit of what I call the bait and switch or the two-step selling process.
It's dirty.
It's scammy, but that's something that goes on every day. Where once we get apart, we'll call them back and add the rest. And I hate that.
Yeah, and Dave, we talked about too. You said you have to take care of this in the beginning. If you've got a timing belt, they need maintenance. you can ignore that and neglect that and have real problems. But I'm going to tell you something else. You can also waste your money by over-maintaining that timing belt. There's places that, and I'm going to say a Honda. We're going to pick a V6 Honda or Acura. If you look in the manual, it says severe service if the temperature is constantly over 110 degrees Fahrenheit or 105 or something in that realm. Well, that's us for like 4 months of the year. So what we see people doing is they're overselling that time belt. They're saying, oh, it's severe maintenance. You got to do it at 60,000. Read the manual, see what it says, and have a good conversation with your shop. It all goes back to having the relationship. But it's a waste to do it at 60,000. Let's do it at 105 when it's prescribed, and don't get caught up in the severe service. You do have to on fluids and some other things, but have that conversation and ask, what else would you do besides just the timing belt?
Well, we've got Mike on the line and a couple texts, people asking about what a timing chain is, and we've got other open lines at 602-277-5827. We're talking about timing belts or anything you want to talk about. You're listening to Matt and Dave, your KTAR car guys, on Bumper to Bumper Radio.
Hi, this is Greg LaFonsi of Automotive Diagnostic Specialties. Long name, right? But we have a short, simple goal. Customer satisfaction is our number one priority, and everything else takes care of itself. Bumper to Bumper Radio approved. ADS is a family-owned and operated state-of-the-art repair facility that has an expert staff that for the second straight year has earned the coveted AAA Top Shop Award as one of the best shops in the nation. Just east of I-10 on Chandler Boulevard. Find us at automotiveddiagnosticspecialties.com.
We're celebrating, and for good reason. Yep, 2014 marks the 20th anniversary of Kaiko Roofing here in the Valley, and they're proud and humbled to have been trusted for all these years by you, their loyal customers. Year after year, Kaiko has over 50% of their business coming from referrals or repeat customers, and 98% of the customers continue to say they would refer Kaiko to a friend or family member. For that loyalty and trust, we all want to say thank you. Kaiko is proud to install peace of mind by using only the finest materials with their most skilled workers, all backed by the industry's best owner's pride guarantee. If the roof on your home or business is over 10 years old, call Kaiko for a free checkup and financing options. 602-944-4600 or go to KaikoRoofing.com. They're crazy about quality.
World class and in your own backyard. If you live or work in downtown Phoenix, Matt Allen's Virginia Auto Service is just around the corner at 7th Street in Virginia. And for over 19 years, they've been recognized as one of the best auto repair shops in the country. Voted Best Auto Repair by AZ Central, A+ rated by the BBB, 2-year 24,000-mile warranty, and complimentary transportation to and from your home or office. Virginia Auto. They're serious about service. See for yourself. VirginiaAutoservice.com.
Who can you trust here in the Valley to repair your ride? This is Bumper to Bumper Radio. KTAR News on 92.3 FM.
Well, welcome back to Bumper Radio. I am Dave Riccio here along with Matt Allen, and we are here to help you with your car every Saturday from 11 to noon. We've got open lines at 602-277-5827. We got Mike and Mike on the line, and I just got this text here, Matt. What if you have a timing chain? Do you need to go replacing your timing chain ahead of time, or what do you do with that?
No, there's really no maintenance necessarily on the timing chain. Now, I can tell you, on an old V8 Chevy or something, once it's got 150,000 miles or so, if the timing cover's leaking, and for some reason you need to access it, you might replace it. But typically, a timing chain doesn't have any maintenance. But I'll tell you, some of the newer Cadillacs and now Honda's got a little 4-cylinder. They got away from a belt and some.
My Honda has a timing chain.
And they have a chain. So don't necessarily think your car always has a timing belt. But on the chains, no, they're not going to wear out. But what I was getting to is with all these extended oil drain intervals and such, Cadillacs, GM started having a problem. Their reprogramming the computers. Instead of having the oil light come on at 7,000 miles for an oil change, they dialed that back to 5 because they were wiping out timing chains.
Timing chains are going bad, and all these stretch-out oil changes get expensive. Don't do it.
Yeah,
regardless of the manufacturer. We're going to go with Mike in Gilbert on a 1999 Nissan Altima. Hey, Mike, you're on Bumper to Bumper Radio. How can we help you today? All right. Mike. Hey, Mike, you need to turn your radio down, if you would. We'll come back to Mike here. And then I'm gonna go to a text real quick, Matt. How does a cam synchronizer work? 2002 Ford Edge. Cam synchronizer. Does that have anything to do with the timing belt?
A little bit, but not really. So you typically, on your normal mechanical engine, low tech, you're going to have the timing gear, which the belt wraps around, attached to the camshaft, and it's just direct drive. Now, a cam synchronizer or a cam phaser, what we're talking about now is a car that has variable valve timing. So now in between the gear and the camshaft, there's a hydraulically operated phaser, and it will re-index automatically the camshaft position on the gear, and it will just allow for maximum performance. I mean, before they started having those, and the Honda people that were trying to get performance out of the car, or Porsches, you'd guy a new gear, and maybe it would be rotated 3 degrees different, and that would change the power band maybe in 5,000 RPMs. Well, now the computer's controlling that using oil pressure. Again, important to keep your oil changed with good oil.
Oh, yeah.
And the computer will see where it wants the valve timing for max power, turn on a solenoid, and let the hydraulic pressure rotate that phaser, and it will turn it off, turn it on, and just constantly be changing that for maximum performance. That's why we're squeezing so much horsepower of these small cubic inch engines.
For sure. Well, we are going to go with Matthew in Mesa, and he's got a Honda Prelude. How can we help you today, Matthew? You're on Bumper to Bumper Radio.
No, I think we got Margaret, Dave. I pushed the wrong button. Margaret in Chandler has a Lexus. Are you up, Margaret?
Yes.
Okay, go for it. We'll get back to you, Matthew, in a minute.
I have 3 questions. Number one, you said change oil. I use those I don't know what oil they use. It's like a 1999. So is that good enough for my Lexus?
Well, on your 2010 Lexus, I happen to have a 2010 Toyota Tundra with a V8, so it might have the same or very similar engine. In that car, probably, I'm going to say that you're probably going to use a synthetic oil, and it's going to be a very lightweight oil. It's going to be maybe a 020 or a 520. And then you probably want to change that. My recommendation would be every 5,000 miles. I know in my truck, it will let you go 10,000. Toyota says if you use this really good oil, the 020, I believe the brand is Enios, and we sell that at the shop. It's expensive, and you can go 10,000. I would still just go 5,000 because you really want someone always looking at the car, make sure the tire pressures are good and all those other things that go along with the oil change.
Oil change is becoming a bigger deal because now we're using it for hydraulic control in the engine. That's something we weren't doing 15 years ago.
No.
So that's the thing that I think in this show we like to do is tell you how the rules have changed. Does your car have a timing belt? You have a Honda. Well, some Hondas have a timing chain now, So things are changing all the time, and so you can never, whatever you counted on being true 5 years ago is totally not true.
Almost every car that comes in now at the shop, we have to look. Somebody says, well, how much is an oil change? Or which oil? I mean, we've got, I don't know how many different oils. Even in synthetic, there's, Volkswagen has 3 different specs. One for the TDI, one for whatever. There's a long life BMW. There's so many different oils you have to have, and using the wrong one, say bye-bye to your warranty. If you have a failure, that they like to reject warranties for that.
Well, if you time warped a technician out of a shop from 10 years ago and you put him in a shop tomorrow, I don't think he would know even what to do. On some cars, he wouldn't even know how to change the brakes, like on these Mercedes where you got to go through all these processes. And it ain't like the old days. He would go, well, what does that thing do?
What?
He would have a lot of questions for sure. If you time warped him, it's that different, and it changes quicker as technology. We redesign stuff all the time. It's not, It used to go really slow. It goes really fast.
Yeah, the changes are coming upon us. Dave, should we sneak in one more here?
Yeah, you bet.
All right. Matthew from Mesa, you are up this time for sure on your Prelude. What can we help you with today?
Hi, guys. I have a question about my Prelude. In the morning, when I warm up the Prelude, my RPMs jump from 1,000 to 2,000 RPMs until it's warmed up, and then it'll idle back down. So I'm just trying to figure out what the problem might be, what needs to be replaced.
I don't think that one's got the dual carburetors, right? That's fuel injected?
That's correct.
Okay. And so it really races up to 2,000 as soon as you start it, or did you say it's fluctuating between 1,000 and 2,000?
It'll fluctuate between 1 and 2,000. It'll go up and then down until it's warmed up, and then it'll idle back down right below 1,000 RPM.
Well, we need to be looking at the idle circuit. I'm going to go back to a Toyota pickup that I had a long time ago. And the idle would be so high that a lot of people had been there and adjusting it. So that the throttle position sensor switch was out of adjustment. It wanted to go up at that 2,000 RPMs, but you'd have your foot on the brake. Well, in the computer strategy, it sees the throttle slightly on, your foot on the brake, now it thinks you're coasting to a stoplight. So it would kill the fuel injectors. The car would go from 2,000 down to 1,000 or 700, and then it would see, whoa, the idle's too low. It'd wake the injectors back up and go, and it would just constantly toggle back and forth. That's a stretch. I'm not so sure that's the same system on your
It's not unusual to see a car idling a lot higher in the morning before the engine is revved up. I mean, you're going to see that. These cars are not 2,000 RPMs.
1,200
But
maybe.
1,200 is not unusual, and it's generally not going to have a fluctuation back and forth and back and forth. It's just going to idle high till it warms up.
Right, and some of those have a thermistor or a thermal valve. You really need to be looking at the throttle body, make sure that's clean, make sure that the throttle body is clean, make sure the idle air control valve is working, the cooling system is working. Dave, what else?
Yeah, it's you're listening to Matt and Dave, your KTAR guys on Bumper to Bumper Radio.
Who can you trust here in the Valley to repair your ride? This is Bumper to Bumper Radio. KTAR News on 92.3 FM.
Well, welcome back to Bumper Radio. I am Dave Riccio here along with Matt Allen, and we are here to help you with your car. If you don't listen to the show on a regular basis, let me make a little more introduction. I own a transmission shop in Tempe called Tri-City Transmission. Matt owns Virginia Auto Service at 7th Street in Virginia. And we are part of a network called Bumper to Bumper Radio. You can find it at bumpertobumperradio.com. And there's a list of about 20 to 30 shops there. These are shops that Matt and we talk to on a daily basis. They're our friends in the business. We know they do it right. So if you are looking for a good repair shop, if you don't have one, you're what we call an orphan. So in other words, you go to this shop on this week and that shop on that week, and you kind of get different services from a lot of different places, and you're looking for just a home and a relationship, you're going to find that at bumpertobumperradio.com. All the people that are on that list are people that are passionate about auto repair and really passionate about having a relationship. It's a mutual trust and a bond that happens, and you got people in your life that are part of, your dentist. You get to know your dentist, you trust your dentist. That's just where you go and what you do. You got to have a mechanic relationship like that. So,
Dave, I have some new customers that hear us on the radio, and they say, "Well, Matt, that's interesting. You're on the radio. How'd you get into the shop business?" Well, it's the opposite. I mean, we're doing this show because
I think that should be obvious to them. I don't know.
I'm a ASE certified master technician. I don't work on cars every single day. You'll find me at my shop, though. I answer the phone. I'm out with the technicians looking at cars. I stay up to date on things, and I'm passionate about it. This is the only thing I've ever done is working on cars. I washed dishes at Red Lobster once before, That's it. That's all I've done.
It's apparent. So anyway, we're good. We've got Lisa and Mike in open lines at 602-277-5827. You can also text us at 411-923. Go ahead, Mike. You are on Bumper to Bumper Radio. What can we help you with?
Yes.
Go ahead.
Is this Mike from Gilbert?
Yes, Mike from Gilbert. Go for it.
That'd be me.
All righty.
I have a 99 Nissan Altima with 40,000 miles on it. At least it had 40,000 miles until a couple of weeks ago. Then all of a sudden the odometer turned over to 140,000 miles. Why?
Wow. Is that digital, or is that a old, the little plastic wheels roll and clock the miles?
I'm not sure. It's not digital. It might be a little plastic things rolling across. I know for sure the odometer just kind of rolls across.
Right. So it just all of a sudden a 1 appeared there?
All of a sudden it just 1 appeared there. Exactly.
Wow. Well, oh boy. If it just had a 1 pop up, back when I opened, like 1995, I remember we had this Mazda. And I'm sitting there, and the miles are just, it looked like the deal, how, the mega cajillions at the casino where it's just adding on the dollars in the slot machine. I'm like, what the heck is going on? We ripped the battery cable off. And I don't remember what the fix was for that, but we had to do all kinds of documentation and stuff. The people had a warranty company that was freaking out about it, so you can probably get that fixed and get somebody to put the correct mileage on it, but you're going to have some serious documentation before you're going to get anybody to sign up for that. Maybe a speed sensor, Dave, but I would think it would start rolling you'd see it counting up.
Right.
That's weird.
The things that come to mind for me, we've got a guy that he specializes in a lot of European cars, but also Asian cars. Joel at Arizona Imports, specialist. See him for Nissan questions. And then also a speedometer shop would specialize in something like that. The cluster, there's something broken there, something not right. I can think of Dick's Speedo. They've got a couple locations. They're different owners, but 2 Dick's Speedos here in town.
Well, yeah, and Mike is in Gilbert, and like you said, Dave, Joel at Arizona Imports is down there in Tempe near your shop off of Rio Salado and south of there off McClintock, 5th Street. And he's the Nissan, he was a Nissan Master Tech, so I would definitely be looking to him for some answers. But I think his other concern, Mike's concern, is my car had 40,000 miles on it. Now, I would never sell that car probably. Maybe you're going to keep it for a while, and it's not going to really matter eventually.
He doesn't drive very much, a 99 with only 40,000 miles on it, or maybe he's been drinking too much.
But I would want to get it fixed back and get the mileage on it. That's going to be the challenge, though. Definitely save your receipts. Maybe you have some emissions documentation or something so we can get that registering right as well.
Well, we've got Lisa, John, and Tom, but I've got a text here. Brian has a 2006 Chevy truck. Driver's side blinker blinks twice as fast as the passenger side. He's already checked the bulbs. There's no bulbs out. What could be the problem? And for everybody listening, all of a sudden your blinkers are going really fast on one side. You may have a bulb out. So he checked the obvious. We got a bulb out. And you know what? He didn't have a bulb out. So maybe we're missing a bulb, or there's a bad ground somewhere. But there's also, you were talking about flashers, Matt?
Well, some cars, and I won't profess to know exactly on this 2006, but some cars will have one flasher switch or flasher for the hazards and maybe the left side turn signals, and then the right side is by itself, or vice versa. So what I would do is turn that signal on and find the one that's flashing. Go put your finger on it and know for sure which one's going fast. And then go turn on the hazard lights and see if it's the same one. If it is, well, then you can reduce that down to probably not the flasher.
You're talking about this little, it's a module now. So there's a flasher module under the dash.
Could be a relay.
That might
even
click.
Yeah, it might even be part of the powertrain control module or the body control module. I'm just not sure. But I would still be leaning towards double checking the bulbs. Make sure whatever is happening on the side that's not clicking fast is happening on the other side. Check your hazards. Sometimes maybe the brake light element might short down to that. So don't just check the flashing lights. Also make sure all the brake lights and other lights are working.
Well, hopefully it helps you out. We're going to go with Lisa in Surprise on a Nissan Altima. It must be Nissan Day. How can we help you, Lisa?
Hi, well, a couple of questions. I just passed my 30,000 miles, and the dealer recommended a service. And I used to do all my own maintenance on 3 Chevys I had for about 6-7 years apiece. And I'm not doing the maintenance on this car. It's just too hard. And how do I tell if the CVT fluid really needs changing, if the engine filter and air cabin filter really need changing? Because I don't know anything about CVT, and I can't really see these other filters and get to them to see if they really need changing.
Okay. Well, we'll talk about your car, and then we'll talk about 30,000-mile services in general. Dave, why don't you start with the CVT fluid? I know you have an opinion about that.
Well, on those Altimas, the CVT transmissions, we see them failed a lot, and we see them failed a lot prematurely. And Nissan has stepped up on the warranty on the CVT transmissions, where they're covering them to 110 or 120,000 miles. CVT is a newer technology. It's been around for a long time, but a newer technology that people are, car manufacturers are using. And I would definitely, at 30,000 miles, be servicing that CVT transmission. So that needs to happen.
And the book might not say till 100 or 50 or 60, but I would still do it at 30. It's good insurance. For sure.
So that is a good idea. You can get that done at the dealer, or you don't have to go to the dealer for your maintenance. It is still under warranty, but for your maintenance stuff, you can really go anywhere. You're going to want to find a shop that's comfortable servicing a CVT transmission, because not all shops are the same. Some of us, graduated at the top of the class, some at the bottom of the class, some of us never went to class. Technician doesn't mean we're all the same. Right. There's a big difference. So some people are going to be real comfortable and real knowledgeable with it, and some people aren't.
And now let's talk about the rest of the 30,000-mile service. So without looking at your car, I'm going to say the cabin air filter, you're going to do it about once a year or every 15,000 miles. Completely normal. Engine air filters, probably about the same. Probably don't need to flush the coolant on that car. Maybe we're going to put a can or some kind of high-quality professional fuel system cleaner in the fuel tank. Rotate and balance the tires. It probably has 4-wheel disc brakes. There's not much there. We can do a test of the brake fluid to see if that needs to be serviced. And otherwise, but I would refer back to the factory owner's manual. That's your baseline. We deviate from that all the time, as most shops do. That is the minimum standard to take care of that car. So just because somebody's telling you something that's not on that list doesn't mean you don't need to do it. You need to have that conversation. Tell me why we're doing this. Explain this to me. And why do you do it? And then if it makes sense, then do it.
Well, Lisa, and it also sounds like in the past you've done a lot of this stuff yourself, and it's getting to the point where you don't want to do it anymore. You need a shop you can start a relationship with. Go to bumper-to-bumperradio.com. You're in Surprise. We've got S&S Tire. We've got Dave at Dave's Car Care out that direction. Those shops, get something started with them and get a comfort level. And at 30,000 miles, there's not a ton going on. It's just going to be a lot of checks and look at this and look at that. And, I don't even think we're... when are you thinking the first brake job's going to happen on that
You're
car?
reading my mind. I used to say on an automatic transmission, front-wheel drive import car, we're talking 27 to 35,000 miles. And that, I think that still holds true. Some of these things are lasting until 60,000 miles on brakes now before we ever do the first one. But that's when you want that whole inspection. We're going to look at everything on the car.
Well, thanks for the call, Lisa. We've got John and Tom, but it's time for the email of the week, and this comes from bumper-to-bumperradio.com. If you've got something you want us to talk about on the show or just a question you want us to cover, send us an email about it at bumper-to-bumperradio.com, and we will talk about it on a future show. This one comes from Grandma Meg. She has a 2004 Chevy Impala Super Sport. Recently, the check engine light came on. Her son checked the code and replaced the emissions control system, which I'm not really sure what the definition of that is, but we'll talk about that more. And after a few days, the check engine light came back on. Took it to a repair shop in Glendale. They told her the emissions control system that her son installed was wrong, and the car needed a California emissions system. That would be $1,200. Could this be true? The price for the part my son installed was approximately $200. The price they quoted did not include labor, but something doesn't feel right. Thanks so much for any of your advice. So, Grandma Meg, go ahead, Matt. Let us know.
Well, you're not going to replace the whole emissions control system.
That's huge.
The first mistake or the first problem here is they said they checked the code and it said this. So what I'm thinking about is maybe a catalytic converter, for example. The code might be catalyst efficiency.
I could see that.
And so someone says, hey, I got a code for catalyst efficiency. I need to put a new catalytic converter on. Well, maybe that's true. But maybe one of the sensors, we've got a sensor going in before that catalytic converter and one after. And that computer is being told what we see coming in, what we see going out. If there's no difference, either the computer's lying, the sensors are lying, or the converter's bad. We need to figure that out. I could see buying an aftermarket one or a cheap one is going to be a lot less than the proper factory one. That could be part of it. The other part of the question is, I'm in Arizona. My car's never even been to California. How did I end up with a car with California emissions, and what is that? Well, back in the 90s or prior, it used to be that we would, there'd be all kinds of extra air pumps and everything for California, and there was big differences. Now it's probably mostly in the programming of the computer and maybe a component or two, but they're basically the same. Maybe the dealer did a swap or something like that. So,
that's possible for sure. When we come back, we've got John and Tim, and we'll finish up on Grandma Meg's question. We've got a couple open lines at 602-277-5827. You're listening to Matt and Dave, your KTAR car guys on Bumper to Bumper Radio.
World class and in your own backyard. If you live or work in downtown Phoenix, Matt Allen's Virginia Auto Service is just around the corner at 7th Street in Virginia. And for over 19 years, they've been recognized as one of the best auto repair shops in the country. Voted Best Auto Repair by AZ Central, A+ rated by the BBB, 2-year 24,000-mile warranty, and complimentary transportation to and from your home or office. Virginia Auto. They're serious about service. See for yourself. VirginiaAutoservice.com.
Have you been told you need to spend over $4,000 on a new hybrid battery? Hi, Glenn Hayward here for the Hybrid Shop at Goodworks Auto Repair. If your hybrid has been losing fuel efficiency or become sluggish, the problem may be a battery issue. But replacing the battery with the dealer for $4,000 or $5,000 is crazy, when the Hybrid Shop at Goodworks Auto Repair can condition your battery to like new for as low as $1,300. Visit GoodworksAutoRepair.com for details. Experience what auto service should be.
Hi, this is Greg LaFonsi of Automotive Diagnostic Specialties. Long name, right? But we have a short, simple goal. Customer satisfaction is our number one priority, and everything else takes care of itself. Bumper to Bumper Radio approved. ADS is a family-owned and operated state-of-the-art repair facility that has an expert staff that for the second straight year has earned the coveted AAA Top Shop Award as one of the best shops in the nation. Just east of I-10 on Chandler Boulevard. Find us at automotivediagnosticspecialties.com.
Few cities are as car-centric as Phoenix, and this is the show that'll help you to better understand that machine you depend on to get around the valley. It's Bumper to Bumper Radio. KTAR News on 92.3 FM and the KTAR app for Android and iPhone.
Well, welcome back to Bumper Radio. I am Dave Riccio here along with Matt Allen, and there's something I need to mention to you. Matt had a customer, and Matt has, I called him here a couple weeks ago, and I called Matt, and he could barely talk to me. He was all choked up, and I said, what happened? He said, I'm losing one of my customers. That's he's dying of cancer, and it's not looking good, and hospice and all that stuff. And Matt has been working with this guy. He's known this guy for years, and Doug is his name. Asked Matt. He said, Matt, can you help me with my cars and get my wife situated with cars? And he has a really beautiful Boss Mustang, 2012 Mustang that is awesome. And he asked Matt to sell it for his wife. And so Matt has agreed to do that, and he's got this Mustang for sale. We're talking about relationships with your auto shop. These are people that are in your life. They're your community. You got to get to know them. It's just not just a commodity in an auto shop. Have relationships with them. And this is a piece of the relationship, but I also did want to mention this Mustang. I mean, it is gorgeous. It's at Matt's shop, which is at 7th Street in Virginia. But if you're thinking you want a car that's really cool and has fancy stuff on it, go check this thing out. So with
Yeah, you didn't have to spend $1 million on a Mustang at the Barrett Jackson last week, and this car, I mean, I'll get some pictures on our Facebook page. So if you're looking, this is a Boss 302 Mustang. It's a rare orange color with a black racing stripe on it. And then it's got this track key. He did a little bit of autocrossing with it. And so we did the programming on the Ford factory motorsport deal. And so you use one key to go to the grocery store. Use the other key when you want to go, just lay down some rubber or really get out there and show people what this thing can do. And, it got down to it. This plan was in place for a year. And I don't want to get choked up again, but we knew it was happening. It really gives you a lot of confidence in your business and yourself. It makes you feel good when a customer can reach out to you like that. And he just wanted to enjoy the car down to the last possible day that he could, but he didn't want it to be a burden. So I'm going to help him with that. That doesn't mean we're giving the car away either. I mean, this is not take advantage of the situation kind of deal. This is a beautiful car. So if you're a Mustang person or you want a hot rod, you can send me an email, go to our Facebook page, or you can go to mallen@ktar.com.
For sure. Well, let's get with John in Gilbert on a 1996 Nissan Pathfinder. How can we help you, John? You're on Bumper to Bumper Radio.
Hi. I bought it used here a couple of months ago. When I bought it, I was quite aware that the transmission would not go in reverse. My question is, I know nothing about automatic transmissions, and this one especially. Is it something that you know from experience that you're going to replace the engine, the transmission, or is it something that's possibly repairable?
That transmission in that Nissan is an RE4 R01A, and I've seen one of those without reverse I don't know how many times. And it's not anything you're going to patch or fix with the transmission still inside of the car. It's actually a gear train problem within the transmission. So that is going to have to be removed from the vehicle and either rebuilt or replaced. So there's no quick fixes or patches for that one. I wish I had some different news, but it's going to be expensive repair.
I'm going to expand on John's question a little bit. Nothing to do with reverse, Dave, but Nissan Pathfinder. What else happens that is a common failure in those, and that is something that people really need to be aware of when they're servicing the transmission? The radiator goes bad or something like that? And what the heck does that got to do with the transmission?
Well, I know the radiator has a transmission cooler in it, and I think this is what you're referring to, but those transmission coolers, they have a very fine screen in them, so when the transmission fails, that screen plugs up. So a lot of times on that vintage of Nissan, you got to replace the radiator at the same time.
Well, you didn't take the bait, Dave. What I'm talking about is the Pathfinders, and it's not the 96. I think it's a little newer, where the radiator, the cooling, the transmission cooler within the radiator fails and allows glycol to get into the transmission, and then that ruins the transmission.
Correct, and that's
right?
going to be your late model Nissan Armadas and Frontiers and Pathfinders. Just go Google Nissan Frontier transmission problems and radiators, and you're going to find a wealth of information, and we're going to save you some money if you got that vehicle. You can bypass the radiator and install a transmission cooler so you don't have premature transmission failure. So that's what's going on, John, and if you got a Nissan, just another FYI to save you some money.
Perfect. What should we take? I think we got Tom and Gilbert, and probably time for one more. Tom's got a Mercedes, 1997 Mercedes C230. What can we help you with, Tom?
Yeah, what the issue I'm having with this is we've had it at a few places. This car, it seems to do it just about any time. It seems like more in stop-and-go traffic, but it's almost like when you go to accelerate, the car almost acts like it's just shutting off, and it'll do that like 3 or 4 quick times. It'll go for a little while, and might do it a couple more times, and then you're fine. We've already had the crank sensor replaced, just put spark plugs in it. The fuel filter's not that old, and we did a throttle position sensor. The throttle position sensor was about the last thing we did, and it seems like it has a better response, but it will still do it. Now, we drove the car this morning to go shopping, and it's a little cooler out this morning, and right when we slowed up, we took a corner and started to accelerate. It did it a lot. And this has been an ongoing issue where I almost feel like the car is unsafe to drive.
Simple question: is the check engine light coming on or service engine light coming on?
It's never thrown a code.
Now, that's strange. How do you make the car run well again? Do you have to turn it off, or does it just
it's almost like it drives right through it. It'll do it a few times, and then it's that's what I mean. It's really sporadic, where you could drive it for another day and it'll never do it. But then when it does do it, it's kind of scary.
I guess back to basics, maybe, Dave. I mean to cut you off, but maybe we got to start with the battery. Make sure the battery connections are good and clean and tight. Follow that ground wire down to the transmission bell housing or to the frame or the chassis, wherever it goes. Make sure those connections are good and clean and tight. There should be an engine ground from the engine to the chassis as well. What else do you think? Maybe
It sounds like he doesn't trust the car, but it can be fixed, and if it's getting consistent enough where you can have a technician diagnose it with some test tools on it, that'd be great. If you're looking for a good shop, bumpertobumperradio.com. While you're there, be sure to like us on Facebook. Thanks, Bree, for running the dials. We will see you next week.
There's nothing more important than family. Hi, Kurt Rock for Kurt's Auto Repair. Family owned and operated and Bumper to Bumper Radio preferred. We've been taking care of Valley families and their auto care needs with a perfect Better Business record for over 27 years. Come experience the difference our ASE Master Techs can make for you and your family at Kurt's Auto Repair. Just east of I-17 at 22nd Avenue and Bell Road, or online at mycarhurts.com. Gas or diesel, foreign or domestic. If your car hurts, take it to Kurt's.
Thank you, Arizona golf fans. Thanks to you, the Waste Management Phoenix Open is about to top $100 million in charitable giving. For all the birdies made by the PGA Tour pros, it's really Arizona's charities that sit atop our leaderboard. So stand up and take a bow as the Thunderbirds and Thunderbirds charities thank you for your incredible support. Celebrate this milestone at the Waste Management Phoenix Open, January 26th through February 1st at TPC Scottsdale. Visit WMPhoenixOpen.com.
Hi, I'm Scott, General Manager with Whitey's Auto Repair here in South Scottsdale. We built a reputation for quality auto service and repair for over 45 years, and our customers have come to trust us for our recommendations. We value that trust, and that's why when it comes to transmissions, for the past several decades, we have been recommending Tri-City Transmission. They have yet to disappoint. I feel so strongly about it, I wouldn't go anywhere else. Why would you? Google them online today at tricitytransmission.com. Go where the pros go. Tri-City Transmission.
Join us for everything automotive on Bumper to Bumper Radio with Dave Riccio and Matt Allen, the KTAR Car Guys, every Saturday, 11 to noon on KTAR News 92.3 FM. Winter is finally here. Is your car ready? Whether it's snow up north, rain in the valley, or 75 degrees, Dave and Matt got you covered. And remember, 24/7, there's bumpertobumperradio.com. It's a must for the best